What is happening? What's going on, Luis? What's up,
Hey, good
brother?
afternoon. It's Friday.
It is Friday. Yes, sir.
Finally, it's been quite a
Finally.
week, man. Quite a
It
week.
has been. It has been. It has been. A pretty crazy week. Everybody's. What makes it the biggest thing out of everything is everyone is trying to close their deals before the end of the month. Everyone's trying to
Right?
close before Labor Day weekend. So it's just like
Yeah,
trying to making it happen left and right. Right?
right.
How's it been for
Uh,
you, man?
it's been busy. It's been busy. Nonstop phone calls. Jumping, stepping out of my typical, path to help everybody out and go the extra mile to get these deals closed, and just doing what we got to do. It's the name of the
Absolutely,
game.
man. Absolutely. Well, we want to
Yeah.
welcome everybody over to REI Happy Hour. Every single Friday, we get on here on Campos Capital Group page. My name is Danny Campos out of the Atlanta office, out of the Atlanta, Georgia office. Louis,
My name is Luis Martinez. I am out of the Texas office. We're out here in northern Houston, just making it
nice.
happen.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So every single Friday we get on here. Obviously, usually we have it with Ken Board, but he is right now partying it up at a wedding. So I'm pretty sure last thing he's thinking about is REI Happy Hour right now. He's having his
Yep.
own happy hour somewhere else. um, but everyone that is joining us right now, thank you, welcome, and thank you for logging in with us. Please feel free to share the page, share the live with us. Make sure to get all your people in here to let's talk some real estate, and at the same time, get ready for the weekend. So before anything, of course, we want to obviously talk about what we're drinking, right? Lewis, what you got drinking? What you drinking with you, man?
Well, I have here my first time having this. This is a Parish Brewing Company, Ghost in the Machine. I haven't had this before, but about to try it out.
Nice, nice. What type of beer is it?
This is an ale.
Okay, okay, okay. Nice.
Yeah, so
Excellent.
it's I guess it's super hoppy. I'm not sure if I'm not always the biggest drinker of these types of beers, but
Yeah, I didn't
I'm
know
at
you were.
home, so I'll
Yeah, I
go
didn't know
ahead and
you
have
like
a
hobby.
case, right? I
Okay,
got my
nice. Ooh, look at him. Try making everybody want to get one right now.
yes, sir. Trying to set the mood, set the atmosphere for Friday afternoon. How about yourself? What are you having?
So I got something a little bit with some vodka. I
Right?
usually go for this. I always try to do. I'm staying away from trying to do too many of the juices with the mixers, and I try to, spice it up with some type of like bubbly or a
Yeah.
flavored bubbly, and then just a splash of cranberry. But I ran completely out of every single bubbly in my house. I usually have like cases and cases, but none today. So cranberry and pineapple.
Cranberry pineapple. Nice.
All right, so we would love to hear what everybody's drinking. Also with us on REI Happy Hour. It's funny because a lot of people say we're still drinking water because we haven't ended our work day, but we get it. I'm pretty sure everybody's getting ready to unwind in a couple hours. But tell us a little bit of what's going on this week with you, Lewis. I mean, like always, we want to share some good experiences, anything that's have happened that obviously could be something to learn from. For all the investors that are listening to us right now, and before you share some of that,
Yeah.
just get everybody ready for what we're going to talk about today. Is going to discuss a little bit about what happens during the day of the closing day. What are the different costs as an investor you should be expecting, right? Because I think everyone has the a little bit more of the idea that closing costs comes down to just title and maybe your taxes and the points. But there's a few things here and there you want to take in consideration when you're especially analyzing your numbers. So we're going to talk and get into a little bit more of that. But Lewis, like, how was your week, man? Anything that you wanted to share? Anything good experiences? Anything like that?
Yeah, so my week has gone well. I've had a number of closings this week, so typical for the end of the month. Had a couple of surprises there. It's always one of those things when you're with the loan transaction that in many cases you're kind of hitting a moving target, depending. Like if you're going with some transaction where you're refinancing a loan amount that's already in place, there are certain numbers, certain amounts that are already set in place that are going to change as you go into the like let's say you go into a DSCR loan.
Right.
Depending on the terms of your existing loan, your hard money loan, whether it be that you have, an escrow account or have money in a trust or have funds set aside, there's also the potential of having the termination fees and things of that sort that come into play that you need to keep in mind. Those will be on the HUD and they will be needed. You do need to take care of those at the time of satisfying that loan. And then there's also taking into consideration that, when you have an existing property, the type of coverage, insurance coverage that you have, that's going to switch up as well. You're going to have different types of coverages going into a rental property, and you're going to have to switch that up and, initiate a new policy in most cases. And also when you have a purchase transaction. So we just had this purchase transaction come up. It was looking a little shaky there. Looks like back in the early 2000s, there was an issue with, it was titled, the owner at that point in time had basically fallen off the map, I guess you could say. There was no response, no nothing. So title was transferred and we had to go back, almost just over 20 years in the history of title to be able to get some clarification and know that we're going to be able to close this transaction for our client.
Dude, I hate when that happens.
Yep. So we'll go through and we'll share a little bit as to what needs to be done on titles and to be able to make that happen for us. So that's been my day. It's still
nice,
going.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, man, I gotta say it's never a dull moment in the world of real estate investing, man. Surprises like that is what I think it really comes down to. The type of lender you're using comes down to how well do you manage all those dodgeballs thrown at you, right? So it's I right now I'm actually running into a few things when it comes to the appraiser. We right now we have a property that's supposed to have closed today, but unfortunately, this appraiser has just been, horrific, man. Not only in regards to the amount of time he's been taking to get the report done, gave us the report. It was done horribly in regards to like the comps were nowhere near what that property had valued, especially when it came to the market rent. And usually, and when it comes to us, I mean, I'm pretty sure you're the same way. We really try to be as conservative as possible to make sure the loan can work. So with this property, when my client brought it up to me, I'm like, man, this is such a home run. Like, what an amazing margin in market rent and value of the property that I was like, there's going to be such an easy loan to do. And we're here still not able to close. It's ridiculous, man. This drives me crazy. But so it's just trying to deal with the appraiser. Long story short, I'm able to. We find out there's an appraiser that's gonna be able to help us out, give us the numbers we want, and I'm just having to do this huge process to try to get him to be able to that the lender will accept him as an appraiser, because that's another thing, right?
Yeah.
And we're down to now. Finally, he's going this weekend to get it done. Give me the report by Tuesday, and we'll push it. We're pushing this to close by the end of the next week. But it's just all those hassles, man. In regards to going into a property, you have to have in mind, like it's, sometimes it's gonna come at you where, man, like right now, one of my clients, first time investing, a really good friend of mine. He brought me the contract last week. We're closing next Friday. I mean, it was such a smooth process where, like, I told him, hey, man, do not get used to this. Like, this was amazing, right? Sometimes it's either the property, something's wrong with it, or maybe there's some documents that you need to bring where, you didn't realize, oh, sure, my LOC is not even active right now. It's like, all right, you need to go through that. But no, everything was so smooth. And it has a lot to do with the way you prepare yourself. I prepared him for like the longest. So he was ready. But
that's funny. I just wanted to mention, I had the opposite conversation with one of our existing clients who's a returning client. And he's like, what's going on with my transaction? I mean, it seems so simple and so easy. And so I had to mention to him, like, yeah, typically it is. We have so many different avenues to be able to provide you with the capital and make these deals happen. But for your particular situation and the location of the property, there's a few things that are out of place. So we had to go a specific route. So that's why they're being so stringent with being able to get this to happen for you. But it's, again, we got to remind them, hey, it's not always going to be like this. And just keep in mind, it's always an up and down when it comes to investing in real estate.
Yeah, as long as you know that, and and I think is like for everyone to get that expectations of what's gonna, what may happen, what may not happen. You're ready. You know what's gonna
Yeah,
happen. And then it's just up to us to make it happen at the end of the
correct.
day. And obviously we obviously get it done. So
Yeah.
so the only thing is, like, I'm so glad that we're moving on with this file I had. Like, I thought it was gonna be stuck, but no, we made it happen, and so we should be getting out for a closing next week. But man, that's been a week.
Right. Yes, it is.
Talk about getting ready for the long weekend. Oh, absolutely, man. So we're getting a little bit into our topic of the day. Shout out to everybody that's on the live right now. Everyone, if you're listening in from, whatever any part of the country you're listening in from, please let us know where you're listening from. Right there, we have Jessica from Smyrna, Georgia. Happy Friday to the wifey. Then we have Francisco. Saludos, Danny, Luis, Francisco from North
Saludos,
Carolina. And
Francis.
we have Carla on the check-in. Carla is a new new loan officer, part of Campus Capital Group, a new lending relationship manager. So welcome to the live. We'll probably have her in the next couple of lives to introduce her, part of the team
Nice.
in Maryland. So welcome, Carla, and happy Friday to everyone that's listening in. All right, so let's get into the good stuff. So what we're gonna do is, just to make it a little bit more easier. Obviously, when you're visually looking at information, it makes it a lot more simple for you to be able to kind of understand what we're talking about. So we're gonna go ahead and actually share a screen to a HUD. Now, before we get into that, Luis, you want to say a few reasons why it's important to know your closing HUD?
Yeah, absolutely. So your HUD is basically it's your final settlement statement. So this is what you are signing up for. This is what all the numbers, all the work. You're like, hey, why are things changing? These are the final numbers. This is where it's all going to end up at. Even then, there still can be small variances. You'll look at some numbers. There's going to be some padding in there, some reserves to make sure that everything closes accordingly. Just in case, it's better to have a little bit of an overage on some of these funds and a shortage. You'll see some of that in there. Again, we want to be conservative so that everything goes smoothly. Whenever there's any leftover funds, they get reimbursed back to you. But this is basically what you're looking at to close your transaction and have that contract be effective. This is it right here. These are your final numbers. And so it gives you a clear breakdown as to what it is that your transaction involves. And this is basically, that last step right before you go and you go into that obligation and go into your project.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's exactly it. Everything that Luis was saying right now in regards to what it means, to close your HUD, what to expect, what numbers you're looking at, and so we're gonna go a little bit line to line of what they mean. Unfortunately, many people go into a closing and they're like, "Holy crap, what is all of this?" So
Right.
because we get it all the time, right? We try our best to kind of do an overview of the HUD, especially if it's your first time. But it's good to know this information ahead of time, because these HUDs, you're gonna find it out even if you're selling it. If you're doing a closing at it, and do some seller financing, you need that data is going to tell you a little bit more as well,
Yeah.
right? So all of that. So let me go ahead and share the screen, and then this way everyone can kind of get a final Let me know once everyone sees it. Make sure everybody is seeing it right now. Yeah.
Looks like it's up.
All right. Cool. So, can you see that well there? If you're on the chat and you can't see that too well, let us know and I can zoom in a bit more into it. Um, I'm trying to see if I can see it from my phone, and if I can't see it from my phone, that means everybody can.
On my
But
end, it looks a little blurry, but
how about now?
that's perfect right there.
That's good. All right. If you're in the chat, please let us know if you can see that a little bit better. That will definitely help out if I need to increase it or anything like that. All right, sounds good. So we're good now. So let's go a little bit into what a HUD means. So this was going to look like. It's going to look like a whole bunch of numbers. But at the end is going to tell you how much you need to bring to the table, how much the seller is bringing, right? So we're going to go a little bit line by line. Obviously, you'll have your name here as the borrower, that you're the one who is purchasing the property. We just named him Great Investments LLC. This is Mr. Awesome, the seller. So that's great that he's Mr. Awesome. Everybody knows him that way. And then Campos Capital Group is going to be the lender. Property location. Pretty simple, right? That's the property you're purchasing. Settlement agent. This is going to be where your title company, your attorney, whoever settling your closing, that's whose name is going to be here. So it's Awesome Title Company. We want to use them because they're pretty awesome. And then you have place of settlement. In this case, we're doing a notary to the home, to the customer's home. So it's going to be at their home. But if it's at their title company, well, obviously you'll see the title company's different address here, right? So now let's get into the transaction. What all these numbers look like. So something to be aware of. Each time you're a HUD, it's getting set up. It's getting done by the lender and the closing agent and the title company. They're going to go back and forth, reviewing the HUD, making sure everything looks straight, all the numbers are good. If there's one of the lines where it's like, what does this mean? Well, the title company is going to explain it or, clarify it, as well as the when it comes to the lender, right? Just to make sure that everything looks good. Now, in our cases, as your mortgage rep, as your loan officer, we are going to also review it just to make sure that we see everything that is good. Obviously, we're on your side, so we want to make sure that you're not paying something that the seller has to pay, and so forth. Right? Okay. So for this contract, they were able to get the property for $190,000. That's pretty accurate, right? Now, settlement charges, and this is based off of, as you can see here, line 1400. So if we go down all the way down to line 1400, you'll see total settlement charges. Sorry, total settlement charges $104,197.98. So we're gonna go into a lot more into that in a bit, but it's placed here, knowing that is what the buyer is having to pay, and you'll see how it starts to add up at the end. So in total, we're looking at $296,171,34. Correct? We're good? All right. So, by the way, if anyone has any questions as we go by this, please let us know. We would love to answer them. So as you can see here, in this case, the seller, because this is they're purchasing. Well, okay, these are wrong, but the when it comes to the taxes, right, the county taxes, the seller will be paying for these. Okay, the seller will be paying for those. I'm sorry, the buyer will be paying for those. The buyer will be paying for those, and it's just going to deduct from the date that is being purchased. The property is being purchased. So this comes up to a total of $296,171. Now, you got to deduct from there your earnest money deposit, your EMD, $3,000. You're also going to deduct 232,500, which is the whole loan amount that you're getting from Campos Capital Group, which brings you down to 200. Sorry, which brings you down to 60,671 with 34 cents. So one more time, the gross amount from the that is due from the borrower minus what is being paid from the lender and your EMD comes out to what the total amount needs to be brought over to the closing day, right? Which in this case will be 60,671. So this gives you an idea of how these boxes here is what you're gonna get. Correct? You're gonna get all this right here from either the lender, your EMD. Sometimes the seller has taxes that they haven't paid, and so you'll see it here, but it's being deducted because they're paying for it. And I just had that in one of my HUDs this week for one of my clients. So just to give you what these two boxes means, from 200 to 220, that's what that means. Hundreds, it's gonna mean whatever needs to be paid. Make sense? We're good. And then obviously from the seller part, that's separate because the seller, that's where they're gonna be paying on their part. All right. So now let's get to page 2, which is gonna give you the total of all the settlement charges. All right. And this is the part where you want to really pay attention to make sure that everything is being totaled up completely. Okay. So right now we're gonna let Lewis do the title charges and down. I'm gonna start off from the front, from the top. So here you see 701 and 702 is two different real estate companies getting their commission. Okay. Totaling up to $9,500. And obviously in this part, we have the seller that's going to be paying for that. Again, this is the seller side. This is the buyer side. The seller will be paying for all the real estate commissions, $9,500 plus an additional $1,900. But again, that's part of the seller, so we don't worry about it. Now let's getting into the loan part. In this case, Campos Capital Group is charging 2% for this loan, totaling $4,650. Now, for some people, Louis, do you want to explain to them how you get 2% equaling $4,650?
So the 2% is going to basically be 2% of the amount of the loan. So the amount that you're having financed. So you go ahead and take into consideration. In this case, it looks like I can see that there's going to be a holdback. So I'm assuming that this is not just it's a purchase with rehab and renovation that's going to be required for the property. So what we will consider when we charge our points is going to be the entire amount being financed, because that money is essentially being set aside. That's what we're going to hold for you to help you not just acquire the property, but also get your work done as you draw the funds necessary for that work to be done. So, and that's where we get that number there.
Yeah. So, and then the 232,500, which is the loan amount, just like that, just what Lewis said, times the 2%, $4,650. Great. Now there's a holdback, and obviously this is what Campos Capital Group is going to provide for the rehab. And then you have your closing fee and deposits, assignment fee, a processing fee, and an underwriting fee, which these are total to this amount. So this kind of gives you an idea of what it's going to be from the lender. What are the actual charges from this 90,000? Remember, this is just the rehab, so it's not that you're paying these 90,000 at closing, but are included within the whole amount. Which here it'll be deducted. It'll be deducted from this amount here, from the total loan amount that the bank will be providing. All right, no questions till now. Good. It seems like we're doing a good job up to now. So interest. So this particular loan closed on the 10th, which means on the 9th, sorry. On the 10th, your interest is going to start the next day. And this is just totaling to the end of the month, 23 days. That was the total that you have to pay in interest in advance, paid in advance, right? Because it's a purchase and rehab, that means you have to pay the total amount for the insurance for the 12 months. So that was the 12 months insurance for $898. So all that is has to be included in your closing. Good. Now we get into the title charges. Take it over, Luis.
All right, so title charges. So you're gonna see line 1101, your settlement or closing fee. Those are gonna be the fees paid directly to the title company. That's what they charge to go through and complete their part of the process, the paperwork, going through, pulling title, taking a look at everything, making sure everything is transferred over correctly and they set up your documentation correctly. And in some cases, you'll have like I was giving an example of a little bit earlier in our conversation today, was that if they have to go back and search the history of the property, you may see an additional fee. They may have to reach out to third parties, other title companies, to get a clear history of the property title and make sure that it is clean so that you don't have any encumbrances on title. So you'll see that on line 1102. An abstract or a title search is exactly that, going back historically to make sure there's nothing that's going to jump up from years ago that's going to come back and have a negative effect on your ownership over that property. Thirdly, the title examination. So in most cases, they still want to have everything examined by another party, sometimes an attorney. It all depends on the state that you're in, but they're going to go through and they're going to look at it and they're going to give another opinion to make sure that the information found is correct. And that basically gives you that additional security over knowing that your title is clear. So you'll see that title examination. Once they have everything clean and in place and they know everything's good to go, they'll start. What you'll see next is you'll essentially sign documents. So once you have documents signed, like this HUD document, title documents, loan commitment, and all that good stuff, they're gonna need to send then you'll see courier fees, wire fees. So that could be one of two things. So it could be that they are sending a check. So there is a fee for sending that. They send it first mail. They want to make sure it doesn't get lost or anything like that. Sometimes it's a wire, so there is a fee to wire funds. So whenever they wire funds from title as a disbursement, you'll see a fee. That's what that fee pertains to. Next, you got line 1105. That's going to be the notary closer fee. So they could have an internal notary that signs a loan for you at the office, or it could be a notary that goes out to your location, a mobile notary, to complete the signing. That's very, very common. And that's a typical charge that you'll see, $150 to have somebody go out at your convenience to have you sign your loan docs. So going down from there, the next thing you're going to see is your title insurance. Title insurance, $344.48. That's a typical fee to help insure your title. So after they go through all the work of making sure that you have clean title, making sure there's no issues there, they're also going to ensure that so that if something were to come up, you have some protection there. They have some attorney representation that's going to be available to you to help cover any type of litigation, to help make sure that you end up where you're supposed to be with a clean title, with ownership of the property, and not have anything come back and have any type of negative effect there. So then you'll also see the type of coverages that are available. So there's the lender's coverage, which basically covers us and covers any type of litigation on our end. And the owner's coverage essentially covers you as the investor to make sure that you don't have to fork out any money when it comes to title and having them come back and do any type of paperwork or present any type of documentation on your behalf. To show that title was clear and that things are in their place as necessary. So let's say somebody doesn't agree with the title search, comes back and tries to have a claim, but we have everything in place and we know that, then you have this in place that's going to cover you on that end. Next, you're going to have the CPL fee to settlement services. You know what the CPL fee, that one I'm not too familiar. You know what that one is?
Yeah, Oh my god, I just had it at the tip of my tongue right now. Sorry, man.
It, it
I had it right here right now, but it completely slipped.
that one always it comes as a curveball. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look that one up real quick. So the
But yeah,
CPO.
with the CPO, but that with all these what's very
Oh,
interesting from all these title charges.
that
That
is the closing protection letter.
oh, that's right.
Yeah, so I always forget that because we abbreviate everything, and then you forget the exact term of the or the name of the document. So that's a closing protection letter. Um, so they'll write that up, and then that's basically just uh, it basically just details the closing of the transaction and that everything was done appropriately. So typical charge again there. And then so there, and they can vary. There can be other types of title fees that you'll see involved in this. In attorney
Yep.
close states, you'll see that an attorney is required to be able to close your transaction. And so these fees can vary. There can be other types of requirements on behalf of title to be conducted to be able to close when you have other types of title issues. So, judgments, things of that sort that the seller may have that need to be taken care of. So just to give you an idea, there can be other charges involved, but typically this is how you're going to see them named on the HUD statement.
Correct. Good, man. Awesome. That and I did a quick calculation on that, and we're talking about 1870 on the title charges. So that kind of gives you an idea of what the charges for title gonna may be. They're in reality, you're always within like 1,500 to 2,500. That's how
Right.
much your title fees are going to come out to. So that's a good number to have in mind when you're looking at a property that you wanted to invest in. So that's that one. When you look into now, let's say, the recording fees and the transfer charges. For example, your recording fees for mortgage and deed, 175. Then you look at your taxes, right? 1925 for this one and 1581 on the state, and recording taxes 640. These are your pretty normal taxes and you know recording fees
Right.
when it comes to the government. So that's always gonna vary. So you're not gonna be sure till towards the end of how much after title is done, after they've done the research, the surveys, and everything on the property, is to see how much your actual expenses for the taxes are going to
Yeah.
be. And then additional settlement charges, you're going to see some extra stuff there if there's need be. For this one, if I'm not sure, this admin fee was just for the realtor. And very interesting, you can see here that the previous owner, the seller, had delinquent water bill up to $4,500, which is crazy. Didn't pay since 2016.
What?
How crazy is that? I can't believe they didn't even shut it down any earlier than that. But yeah, so that's where you come up to the number $104,197.98. Which is going to be your closing costs, your settlement charges. Then have in mind from that 104, 90,000 are going to be deducted for the holdback for your rehab, bringing your total to 60,671 and 34 cents. So a small little breakdown, not too crazy, but a small little breakdown of how your HUDs work, right? Again, we don't work for title companies, but we just are pretty familiarized with how HUDs work, and specifically when we review them with our clients, just to make sure that everything looks okay,
Yeah.
because there have been instances where it could be just a text error where one number has an extra zero, or another number it's not supposed to be there.
Yep.
And so it's very important to review it before signing. Absolutely.
Right.
That's one important thing we always say.
I always make it a point to go over that document to make sure that there aren't any questions or any concerns when they do get to the signing table. We want to make that as smooth as possible so that they know what amounts are going to be there. They already know what numbers they're going to be looking at when they get there. They've already reviewed that HUD. They're comfortable with it. and it makes it a little bit easier for them, so they have a full understanding as to what they're signing, quicker, easier, and takes a little bit of the stress off when you're at that table and you're signing those
Yeah,
documents.
absolutely. Absolutely. So if anybody else doesn't have any questions for us, thank you very much for joining us for REI Happy Hour again. We're just trying to share some good gems for you guys in the real estate market, experiences that we've had during the week, something they can learn from that we've learned from. That's what REI Happy Hour is all about. And at the same time, we're having a drink. But since the drink is over, we're out.
Felicidades. Gracias a todos. Thank you, everyone.
Cool, man. Enjoy your long weekend,
Yeah.
brother.
Thank you. You too, everybody. Have a safe and enjoy your weekends.